I know it's team, but when an offense is struggling, does the defense try to do more, or can you? Is that the wrong road to go down?
No, I think, with this group, we try to keep our focus on where we need to improve on, and, I think it's always been a part of a defense philosophy. How do you know when you've arrived? How do you know when it's really clicking? And I think it's, when a defense can dictate the outcome of the game. When you do that consistently, then you're playing really well. And so that's what we keep talking to our players about, saying the level that we need to get to, the standard that we have set. So it feels to me like their defense mentality is, all right, how do we get this thing another notch up? And they've done a great job of consuming themselves with how do we improve rather than everything else that's going on.
You can't worry about it.
You try not to, right? Yeah, there's when it works well, there's going to be times when the defense struggle and the offense picks you up, and vice versa, and so there's going to be games like that those opportunities exist, and we got to be ready when our number's called.
You have a second straight year for you with the interim head coach, but last year Raiders became the first team to make the playoffs with one. So what do you remember about that moment and what Rich and the rest of the staff did to kind of hold things together and then get that team to the playoffs?
Right. I think that, every year there's a team, each team in the league goes through, challenging times, 3 or 4 a year. And the team that handles those crisis-type situations the best is usually effective. When you go through challenging times and tough times during the season, it kind of hardens you. And you want to be a hardened team by the time you're in November. And, when you really kind of have to lean on that. So sometimes those challenging times harden you. And I think, looking back at the Raiders, I think that's what took place. It kind of hardened the team, all the diversity that they went through. And they were a talented team, and they just came together, and it was almost like, hey, you're down by 7. There's nothing like what we've gone through, and let's keep going. So our team here has the same mentality. There's been some challenging times that this team has experienced, and it has hardened them. It has hardened them. And so as a hardened team, that your hopes is that you just go play consistently on all sides of the ball, and special teams included, and then you take those experiences and hopefully you build that mindset to when this situations like this occur that you overcome them.
You've been a head coach before. I would assume that's another aspiration to do again. Your unit's playing well. When Jim Irsay fired Frank Reich, did you think I might have a chance to be the interim, and what was your reaction when it went to Jim Saturday?
No, I didn't think that. I think it's just because, Frank means a great deal to me. In the short time we've been together, very grateful for him. He taught me multiple things in a short period of time, not only, leadership, but just the discussions we had offensively and defensively, and we have grown because of our discussions. So I think when it took place, your heart was heavy because of that. Not really, now what's going to take place. I think it all kind of stung us for a day or so. Now, then it was Jeff Saturday. And, Jeff didn't do anything wrong. He's coming into a situation where he's excited. And I think then after kind of going through it, then it became, we're excited for him. He's coming in here and he's going to have some new ideas and new ways of doing things. And you're kind of excited to see that part of it and see how it changes and how we adjust to it. And, so your emotions go more in that phase than thinking about, should I have been it or, I don't know. You try to, just like we talked about last week, you just keep going. And our focus is on trying to make sure everything we do, we help our players get better. And sometimes it's not just scheme. Sometimes it's just battling through a situation like this.
Before Monday, did you know Jeff very well?
I met him. I met him here in training camp. But he spoke to the team, and then afterwards, I thought he was, it was a great message, and just went up and, introduced myself and shook his hand, thanked him for coming. But, we know of each other, but not long discussions at all.
Zach's question, you said that you didn't think you would be the interim. I guess why? Your resume obviously is 4 years as a head coach in the league.
Well, I can say last year the same type of situation occurred, And at the Raiders, they decided to go with Rich Bisaccia. And the cool thing about that was Rich is a leader of men. He was great. But the advantage of that was he was a special teams coach. So he knew offensively, defensively, he knew every player. And they knew how he was going to be in the room. So there was no transition, like, hey, the offensive players know him, but the defense players don't. How is he going to be? I got to build a relationship with this guy. Well, they already had one. He was a special teams coordinator. So, that part of it was, always, that was probably an asset in that situation. Well, this year we chose to go with Jeff Saturday. Here's a guy that's coming in that really no one has in-depth knowledge about what he is. But because of his involvement with the organization, he's been around, and a lot of guys do know him. Know him for what he's brought to Indianapolis, what he's brought to the Colts, how he was as a player. So I feel like the players really have a good understanding of who he is and what he's all about and his mindset. It's not like someone they don't know or never heard of. He's been a big, important part of this organization. So that part they're hanging their hats on. And he came in the team meeting. I give him credit. That's a tough situation, to come into a team meeting and address the team. And, Jeff loves Frank. And, and here's some players are wondering what's going on. And in my personal opinion, I thought he was outstanding. It wasn't a lengthy meeting. He was to the point, but you could feel his enthusiasm. You could feel his strength. And, I thought he did a great job with it. And the players, I think, drew to him immediately.
Would you like to be head coach again?
You know what? I would be terrible as far as like a goal setter. Like, I want to be a head coach by the time I'm 33 and look at, I've worked, and then it accomplished. I think I try to always have the mindset that I'm hired to be the defensive coordinator, pour my heart and soul into be a defensive coordinator and give to this team an organization, and then, we'll see what happens. And not so much of this is my goal, my aspirations are this. So, it's if an opportunity comes up, great. But I'm extremely happy and driven to do whatever I can to help this team.
What do you know about Parks Frazier?
Parks has been very good. It's funny because we got some young defensive coaches on our staff, Mike Mitchell and Cato June, and Mike Mitchell came up to me during training camp and said, "Wow, is Parks impressive? Someday if I ever get a head coaching job, Gus, I'm going to hire Parks Frazier." It was kind of like that kind of a comment, So, and I've had multiple talks with Parks about 2-minute or situations, and he's just very sharp, a really, really good handle of offense and defense. We have constant conversations about that, how he sees it. So I'm excited for Parks. I really am. I think he's going to have his opportunity and he'll grow in the position, but he's really sharp. He understands the game, and now it's just, his first opportunity.
It's from being a coach, though, he's coming in and there's no offensive coordinator and the head coach, and it was his offense. So he's really, like Jeff said yesterday, they're understaffed. Pretty difficult situation, isn't it, for Parks?
Yeah, but it's a good offensive staff. There's a lot of strength. Scotty Montgomery has been a head coach, and he provides great strength. Reggie Wayne. So those guys have already, you kind of rally in situations like that, and guys pick up the extra duties. And I'm not with them and on a day-to-day basis. We're kind of in our own room game planning and things. But I would imagine, knowing all their personalities, that, they all just pick it up and they go. And limited egos. I do know that about the personalities on offense. So it doesn't surprise me that they've all just kind of rolled up their sleeves and done extra and getting it done.
Gus, I was talking about how coming in on Tuesday and getting into the game plan was really like centering for him with everything that's gone on this week. Have you sensed that?
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, I've never been a part of that. He comes in and just kind of checks in and sees what's going on. But he usually comes in at a time that we're saying, all right, let's look at this right here. Now, is this going to be too much? What can we handle? Where are we at? And he usually comes in right about that time we have those questions. So he's been great. It's been I've really enjoyed that part of it. He understands it, sees what we're trying to get accomplished, and you get a player's sense of how he sees it and what can be done. So, yeah, it's been very good, very good.
Gus, last question. I'm sure for you, there's probably a lot of feelings this week facing
Raiders, and I get that the system has changed there, but personnel-wise, a lot of it is similar. Does that help you this week and going up against Derek in practice?
Right,
Like that?
right. Well, I mean, I think with anything, you have great respect for him. You know, Derek in practice, I mean, I can remember going through and saying, God, does he ever throw a pick, in practice? He's, just his game management, how he handles everything. He loves to be in control at the line of scrimmage. The personalities, the Wallers, the Fosters. I mean, Josh, how competitive they are. True pros. Now, like any team, right, there's changing in personnel. Devontae Adams wasn't there when I was there. But the core guys that are there, you know what they bring and how competitive they are and the talent level they have. And, Hunter Renfro, going against him every day, great respect for him. And so I think that part of it, you just know how talented and how competitive they are. And so you can kind of build that picture to the unit.